What's up guys? Today we're going to be showing you how to install SuperATV's powered flip windshield on this Polaris Ranger 1000. So let's get right to it. So the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and remove all the contents of your packaging from SuperATV, get it all laid out. Then you're going to take your power flip windshield here, lay it on your machine, confirm that it fits, and then remove the protective film. Now we're going to grab our bulb seal. We want to make sure that the bulb portion of the seal is facing towards the inside. So if you look at the windshield here, you're going to have one side that has this pattern on it. This will be going towards the inside. This section here will be going towards the outside. So we want to make sure that the bulb portion of the seal is facing towards the side that has a texture to it. So now we're going to start here and run it all the way around the windshield and then stop at this location here. So once we get to this point here, we're going to cut off the bulb seal. Now we're going to take the lower bracket and install it to the lower portion of the windshield. We're going to use the same hardware that we used on the bottom portion of the frame. Now we're going to fully tighten our hardware. Now we're going to install the female hinges to the windshield, making sure that the holes are facing towards the outside. We're just going to start our hardware. We're not going to fully tighten them at this time. Now we're going to install our actuator brackets, making sure that the lip of the bracket is facing towards the inside and the tabs are facing towards the bottom of the windshield. Now we're going to install the opposite side bracket the same way that we did on the other side. Now we're going to fully tighten our hardware. Now we're going to remove our roof hardware to gain access to our factory mounting holes. So now we're going to take our gasket out of our kit and apply it to the top edge of the cage here. Once you get to that point there in the corner, just tear it off or cut it and just go back through and make sure it's fully seated. Now we're ready to get our windshield installed. Now we're going to mount the windshield to the machine. Just like so. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our male portion of our hinge, slide it into the female, slide the windshield up, and line up the holes on the cage with the holes in the male portion of the hinge. So now we're going to slide our M8 bolt through our male portion of our hinge with our flat washer, and then take our M8 nylock nut and thread it onto the hardware. We're not going to fully tighten anything just yet. We just want to get our hardware started. So with our hinges, we want to make sure that we keep them as straight as we possibly can from side to side. So as you can see, this one is actually pretty straight right there. So what we're going to do is tighten the female portion to the windshield here. And we'll go to the other side and make sure that we're straight. So those are pretty straight how we have them. We just want to make sure they're straight, and we want to fully tighten our top two, and we want to make sure that we have an equal gap on both sides of the windshield. Very important. So now we're going to grab two of our cage clamps and our brackets. Our brackets are going to line up on our cage clamp just like so. So we're going to grab our M8 Allen with a lock washer as well as a flat washer. The hardware will go through the brackets just like so. thread into the clamp. We're just going to leave it loose. We're not going to fully tighten anything just yet. Like so. And through this bracket here into the other clamp. Like I said, we're just going to leave everything loose. Then we're going to take our Allen and we'll go ahead and remove the hardware out of the clamp. And then we're going to head over to the machine and install our clamp, just like so. So this section here is facing towards the inside. So yours should look just like this, and it's still loose enough to where we can slide it up and down to get it in the correct position. We don't want to fully tighten our clamps yet, and we don't want to fully tighten this hardware. So we're going to grab our shouldered Allen with a flat washer. Go ahead and get the flat washer slid all the way up to the head. 2 of our bushings. The bushings will slide into the actuator just like so, and 1 nylock nut. So that'll be the top hardware. Then for the bottom hardware, I have the same shoulder bolt, 2 bushings, flat washer, and a nylock nut. So we'll slide our bushing into our actuator on both sides. Get our bushing slid in like this. Slide it into our bracket up here. Loosen the hardware up, make it a little easier. And we'll take our shoulder bolt, slide it through. Take one of our nuts, our nylock nuts, start it on the hardware. And then all we're going to do here is just adjust it around on our clamping position until it will line up with our windshield. You do want to make sure that you pull the windshield all the way in as far as it'll go. So right there, that's perfect. We'll slide our bushings in. And we're just going to take our shoulder hardware, slide it through. So once you get your bolt through, you just want to make sure you snug your hardware up here. You don't want to fully tighten anything just yet. Just want to make sure that you get this windshield as tight to the cage as you can. It is going to bow out just a little bit with all the seal and everything on it, but the actuator here will pull that windshield in tight once we get it all wired. Now we're just going to repeat all the same steps for the opposite side. So once you have both sides connected, what you need to do is push up on your clamps until you ensure that you're getting a good tight seal on both sides. We've already done this, so we're going to go through and fully tighten our clamps and then fully tighten our hardware for our bracketry to our clamps. Then we're going to tighten our shoulder bolts that are attaching our actuator to our bracketry. Now we're going to come to the center of our dash where our cup holders are. Remove the 2 push pins securing the cup holder. Pick up on the cup holder, remove it completely, set it aside for the time being. So what I like to do is I like to feed my harness in, tie my mechanics wire to it, pull it all the way through this spot right here. And then once we have our plug out here, we'll just plug it in, unwire tie our wire, and then we'll just feed it right back down in behind the dash, just like so. So now all we're doing is just feeding our wire up in here and just snapping the connector together. We've got ours connected there. So now we're going to be looking for this section of the harness here. We're going to have a hot and ground wire and then a fuse. The hot and ground wire, the red wire needs to go to a ketone power source. The black one needs to go to a ground. So there's going to be a grommet right behind where we just took our cup holder section out. So now we're going to take our wiring and feed it directly through the rubber grommet. Once we have a good amount of it fed through, what we're going to do is go to the outside, open our hood, and pull our wires through. So here we've pulled our wires out. They're all ready to go. Now this is a newer Ranger, so it does have the pulse style connector up here. You will need to order one of those from SuperATV.com in order to wire this into a ketone power source. So now what we're going to do is cut our eyelets off because we are wiring into a Ranger. And we're going to wire our red wire on our harness to our orange wire on our pulse plug. And then the brown wire will go to the black wire. What we're going to do is just take some wiring strippers here, strip this back, come over here to our pulse plug, strip back our orange wire, twist the wire, twist this wire around, and this is a pretty thin gauge wire. We are utilizing a pink connector, but I will double it over just to make sure that we get a good solid connection here. And then what I like to do is just kind of spin the wire into the connector. That way we know we're not going to bunch up any of our wires or anything of that nature. Take our crimps. Get one good crimp on it. We're going to take the orange, feed it into the connector again, spin it around, make sure you got it in there good, you're making a good solid connection. And then always crimp it in the same angle that you crimped the first time. And if you crimp it, pull on the wire on both sides. Make sure it's not wanting to pull out. That one tried to pull out a little bit there, so I'm gonna go ahead and put another crimp on it, or 2. And 1 for the other side. Just make sure that our wires are in there good. We don't want any wires pulling out. And then this is a heat shrink style connector, so we will take a torch here and heat shrink that down to the wire to make sure that it's gonna stay good and protected from the elements. Now we're gonna grab our black wire, we'll cut our eyelet off. Make our wiring strippers. Strip it back. Again, we're going to twist it. Then I like to double it over. Do a small fold in the wire, double it over, pack it down. Same here on the brown wire. Strip it back, twist it a couple times. Take our connector, slide it onto the wire. Like I said, spin it around, make sure you get it good and seated. We're going to do 1 crimp. Make sure a good crimp there. Take our black wire, feed it in the opposite side of this connector. And remember to crimp on the same angle that you did previously. And we'll go ahead and throw a couple different crimps on this, that way we know we have good connection there. We're not going to pull the wire out. Then what we do, we're going to take our torch here or a heat gun, heat shrink these connectors down, make sure they're good and heat shrunk. So now we're just going to go ahead and heat shrink our connectors here. We're using a torch, you can use a heat gun or any safe heat source. Just want to make sure they get good and shrunk down like that. Then we'll take our pulse plug it into our pulse bar. Now we're going to have to mount our fuse. There's various options. You can take a self-tapper, mount it right here onto the firewall, that's perfectly acceptable. Or you can zip tie it, or you can leave it hang. I think we're just going to use a self-tapper here and just run it right into the firewall. Nothing wrong with that at all. Just make sure that we got it secured and it's easy to get to. Just like that. Now if we ever need to change our fuse, it's right there on the firewall. Nice and easy to get to. What you can do is you can clean these wires up a little bit. Kind of tuck them down, lay them down, make sure they're not tangled up with anything else. And then we'll head back into the machine. So now we're going to grab this plug that's on the harness. We're going to feed it through one of our rocker switch locations on our machine. You may have to cut yours out. If you do, just cut the template to the size of the rocker switch. So we'll take our rocker switch here. Once we have it slid through our hole in our dash, line it up. Like this, and to test it, we'll turn the key on. We'll just feed our wiring through a hole here, get our rocker switch lined up, snap it into position. Then we'll take our excess wiring underneath our dash, and we'll just want to make sure that we pull the slack out of it and secure it. We don't want it just flopping around underneath there. We send plenty of zip ties in the kit. So what I'm going to do is just go through, pull the tension on these, kind of fold them over, and zip tie them underneath the dash. So now what we're going to do is take one of the provided zip ties in the kit, slide it through this hole on the cage, wrap it around our wiring, and we're going to zip tie, but we don't want to cinch it down. We want to leave just enough slack so whenever this windshield actuates up and down, the wire can actually slide on that zip tie. We'll just take a pair of side cuts and cut off the excess of our zip tie here, like so. Then you can also take one, wrap it around the cage, which in order to do that you will have to actuate your windshield up. Run one zip tie around the cage here, just like so. And again, this will be loosely zip tied. We're not going to cinch anything down. We still want our wire to flow freely. We'll just repeat the same steps for the opposite side. Now we're going to reinstall our cup holder, utilizing the push pins that we previously removed. Just like so. So to open the windshield, you're just going to press up or to the open position. And you can stop at any point throughout the stroke of the actuator. So if you just wanted it partially open, you could stop here. If you want to go all the way open, you could hold it down. And it does take 12.71 seconds from completely closed to completely open. And if you want to close it, you just press down on the rocker switch to the closed position. So once you've went through, you've got your windshield adjusted properly, all your wiring's done, you've reinstalled any factory components or any components that were on your machine. That's all there is to it to install SuperATV's powered flip windshield on this Polaris Ranger 1000. Be sure to check the description below for a link to pick yours up today. And while you're there, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.